So good afternoon to all of you. So hope in the online I'm audible as well as visible to you all, right? Am I audible? Not visibility, audibility. Okay. So we'll just make an understanding about how these NCERT books are important in the context of your UPSC examination. Prelims as well as mains. Sometimes you find they are very important for your state service exams also. Because nowadays you don't find there is much difference between the quality of questions which are asked in the State Public Service Commission and as well as UPSC. And in fact, sometimes you should surprise that the questions in the state government are more difficult than UPSC. You will find some questions are there which are very, very difficult compared to that of UPSC. So what has to be done in the context of your UPSC or state government's preparation with reference to NCERT? Now, when you talk about this NCERT questions, in the UPSC as well as state government, you will find many questions which are factual questions directly taken from the NCERT textbooks. Directly, they pick up the statements like, if they ask the statement, meandering process and Oxbow Lake. Now, you might have known about what is Oxbow Lake. It's a landform created by a river. Now, when they ask the terms meandering and Oxbow Lake, so many students make a confusion in mentioning meandering as well as Oxbow Lake, both as a landform created by the river. But when you read NCERT books clearly, you will find that meandering is a process. And the meandering process creates the landform which is called as Oxbow Lakes. So you should be clear enough in understanding the statements which are asked in UPSC. Meaning of the statements are very, very significant here. Of course, when we say the meandering, the process is associated with the formation of landforms, but itself meandering is not a landform. So when you're reading climatology, we say the jet streams are meandering jet streams. The wind is meandering. The ocean water is meandering. So meandering means just a loops. So hence, when you're reading your NCERT books and these statements, you should be very good enough in understanding and catching them. And nowadays, the statements which are asked, we generally say few questions are play of words are there. If you understand the meaning and definition, then it becomes easy for you. So hence you should be good enough in NCERT parts. Now sometimes there may be concepts which are asked in the state governments as well as UPSC, and all these concepts will be from your NCERT books only. Once you understand the concepts, then you can write applications of that. For example, the questions were asked, dams are considered as the temples of modern Indian history. Critically analyze the role of dams now. Now, initially they referred them as the temples of modern Indian history. It means that they were associated with certain types of agricultural activities. But now recently when we say the dams are responsible for floods, associated with rehabilitation issues, resettlement issues, earthquake issues. So hence such questions can be asked in UPSC and you will find them from your NCERT books only. Concepts plays an important role. If you talk about plate tectonic theory and its derivatives, again you will find them in NCERT, which are explained in a simplified languages. Right. So facts, concepts and applications are very, very important in the context of your examination. Now, applications may be associated with any theories like earthquakes. Now, where do you find more amount of earthquakes? Now, when we see that, it has to be associated with the plate tectonic theory, and generally we refer that as the Pacific Ring of Fire or the active boundaries there. So, all these statements which I am telling, they all are from NCERT books only. It does not require any type of PhDs. They are very simplified books. So, many students neglect NCERT books and they read big books which are something hypothetical in the context of preparation. So trust me, if you read NCERT books carefully, then it will help you a lot in the context of your studies. Now, which books are important in the context of your UPSC preparation? If you are reading NCERT books from class 8th also, there is no harm. If you are reading from 7th also, no harm. Just make a point out of that. Which topics are important, just make a reference of that. But the moment when you reach down to class 9th, so from here it starts importance. It gives introduction about Indian geography. And more defined version of that you will find in this part, which is referred as the India's physical environment of class 11th. So here it will give certain introduction and more vital statistics, more application part, more refined aspects it will give in this region. For example, here it says that India's climate is monsoon, but here he explains what exactly is monsoon. Here he says that India's vegetation is something different. And here he explains why the vegetation is in different way. So by reading this, you will have certain idea what it is. And by reading this, you will understand why it is like. So both are important when you are reading Indian geography. Now in the same way, when you move on to class 10th, you will have also certain basics idea about the geography part there. Resources, economic resources, human resources. So all those ideas you will find in this. Then this is referred as very important one, class 11th, fundamentals of physical geography. So here you will have plate tectonic theories, continental drift theories, oceanographies, climatology, all important topics you will find here. Now, my suggestion is read this book sentence by sentence, word by word. Read this book as much as possible and read this also as much as possible. So 10th, 11th, 12th, they are very, very important for your UPSC as well as state government preparations. 9th will give some idea. And whatever you find in the 9th in detail, you will find in this book. Then you are having something called as human geography of class 12. It will give certain idea about the trade part, communication part, settlements. What type of settlements are there? What are metropolitan settlements? How the population is there? What is migration? All those social issues, aspects you will find here. So you should be very good enough in reading these books without missing a statement, without missing a words. Class 11th books and class 12th books. And whatever you find here, you will reflect in this session. So my suggestion is 10th, 11th, 12th. Read them as much as possible. As much as possible. Don't miss a single statement from that. Every year you will find questions from the same parameters. Because UPSC, when it asks statements, they have to be from NCERT only. Okay. Now, the first aspect is about the India size and location, which is reflected in class 9th book. Now, the moment when you talk about this India size and location, you should understand about something called as the latitudes and longitudes. So what are latitudes and longitudes? The imaginary lines which are drawn east and west and north and south. We refer them as latitudes and longitudes. So this you should keep in the mind. What is latitude and what is longitudes? So latitudes are the lines which are drawn east and west, and longitudes are the lines which are drawn north and south. North and south. Right. Now, the moment when you talk about latitudes, yes, please. The moment when you talk about latitudes, you should remember that these latitudes, only one latitude is there which is longest among all the latitudes. We refer that as equator, which is referred as great circle. So this is equator, great circle. Now why it is called as 0 degree? Okay. When you talk about Tropic of Cancer, so this Tropic of Cancer is here, this Tropic of Capricorn is here. This is 23.5 degrees. This is 23.5 degrees. Now what is that degree? It is an angular distance from the center of the earth. So degrees means angular distance from the center of earth. So latitudes and longitudes are the angular distances. This you should remember in the mind. Angular distance from the center of earth. From the center of the earth. So 0 degree, 23.5 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees. So angular distances which is made by the imaginary lines, we refer them as latitudes. Longitude also the same. 0 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 30 degrees and all. So Latitudes and longitudes, they are nothing but angular distances from the center of Earth. Now, latitudes are the lines which are drawn east to west. Longitudes are the lines which are drawn north to south. Right. Now, latitude shows the location of the places north, south or east, west. This is where the catching point is. Even though the latitudes are drawn from east to west, the angular distance shows the location of places north and south of equator. So hence latitudes will be north latitude and south latitudes. We don't have east and west latitudes. Is that clear now? So latitudes always shows the location of places north and south of equator. North and south of. This you should keep. This is what the basics is. Latitudes always shows the location of places north and south of equator, either north of equator or south of equator. In the same way, longitude shows the location of places east and west of meridians. Is that clear? So longitudes always shows the location of places which is east and west of meridian. East and west of meridian. Now longitudes, if you see, all the longitudes are of same length. So hence all the longitudes are referred as great circles. Now when you combine latitudes and longitudes, then it will help us to identify the location of places. We refer that as grid. When you combine that, when you combine the latitudes and longitudes, this forms a grid which gives the location of places. Is that clear now? So latitudes will always be in the north and south of equator, and longitudes will be east and west. So when we talk about India's latitudinal extent, it will be either north or south only. When you talk about longitude, it will be east or the west. Is it clear now? So first, yes please. So first you should understand what is latitude and what is longitude. So they are the imaginary lines which are drawn on the globe, and they are the angular distances from the center of the earth. The longest latitude is a great circle, and all the longitudes are equal in the length. So we refer them as meridians. All the longitudes are meridians. And the points where the longitudes meet in the north, we refer that as North Pole, and in the south, we refer them as South Pole. So this is called as North Pole, and this is called as South Pole. South Pole. Is that clear now? Now, latitudes are placed equally. The distance from the latitudes, one latitude to another latitude, will be equal. Will be equal. Now, when you talk about the distance between the longitudes, will they be equal? If you take the longitude, so this is one longitude, this is another longitude. Now, the distance between the longitudes, is it equal at all the places? You should remember this. It is always maximum at the equator. But the moment when you move down to the poles, the longitudes merges. The longitudes merges. But what about latitudes? They are all equal distances. They are all equal distances. So hence, 1 degree latitudinal distance is 111 kilometers. 1 degree, the latitudinal distance is 111 kilometers. Is it same for longitudes? No, it is not same for longitudes, because they tapers when they move down to the poles. This basic is referred as certain aspects of latitudes and longitudes. Is that clear now? So when you're reading latitudes and longitudes, at least this you should have an idea. What is latitude? What is longitudes? Why we refer them as angular distances from the center of Earth? And latitude shows the location north and south of equator. Longitude shows east and west of the meridians. So hence we say east side and west side. Is it clear now? Now, for our references, all the areas which are north of equator, we refer them as the northern part, and half a circle, half a sphere, we refer them as hemisphere. Hemisphere. So the area which is north of equator, we refer that as northern hemisphere. So this is northern hemisphere. And this which is south, we refer that as southern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Is it clear? Now, if you take this as a line, 0 degree, then 180 degrees, we refer them as longitudinal voice. Now, if you take India's position, where do you find India's location? North of equator or south of equator? North of equator. So it means that India is in the northern hemisphere. India is in the northern hemisphere. Now, when you take the location of all the places, these entire latitudes, we refer them as north. So this is 0, this is 6 degrees, this is 10 degrees, this is 23, this is 60. And all these can be referred as north only, right? They all are north only. And the moment when you take these areas, we refer them as 6 degrees south, 10 degrees south, etc. Is it clear? Now, when you take India, now if this is the southernmost point of India, I'm just giving an example. It is 60 degrees, 6 degrees. Is it north latitude or south latitude? North. Why? Because it is in the northern hemisphere. So many students make a mistake that India is located at 6 degrees south latitude and 30 degrees north latitude. Even though we find north and south, entire India is located in the northern hemisphere. It means that it is 6 degrees distance from the equator and 32 degrees distance from the equator. That is called as latitudinal extent of India. Is that clear? No. India is located in the northern hemisphere. Now, and India is located in the eastern side of meridians. 0 degrees when we take, or 180 when we say, right? So, hence we say it is northern side and eastern side of the meridian. So, eastern side means when you take the angular distances, both will be in the eastern side. It is not that one is east and one is in the west. So, both the longitudinal extent will be east and both the latitudinal extent will be the north. Is that clear? No. Now, if you see the India's location, this is how it looks like. India is located in the northern hemisphere, and this is the main point, and here you find Andaman and Nicobar. And this is both northern hemisphere and this is also northern hemisphere. We refer that as latitudinal extent of India. Latitudinal extent, both will be north latitude. This will also be the north latitude. And longitudinal extent, the moment when we say longitudinal extent, this is the longitudinal extent. And as they are in the eastern side of this 0 degrees, so all this area will be in the eastern part. So this will also be eastern, this will also be eastern part of India. Is that clear? So hence India is located in the eastern side and north of equator. Is that clear? So you should not get any confusion with reference to this. Right. So hence the northernmost point is 37 degrees 6 minutes. Will it be north or south? No. North. And the southernmost point is 8 degrees 4 minutes. Will it be north or south? No. South. This is where the mistakes are. This will be north only because it is north of equator. 8 degrees 4 minutes north of equator. This is where the students make a mistake. Say this. Is that clear? So one is not, if you, the moment when you say, if you say it as a south, then it should be somewhere here. It should be somewhere here. Is that clear? So hence when you are writing, you should remember that. This is also north, this is also north. Is it clear now? And this is the mainland, 8 degrees 4 minutes. And if you take the entire one, which is 6 degrees and 45 minutes, 6 degrees 45 minutes, which is referred as Indira Point. Southernmost point of India is Indira Point. And southernmost point of mainland is Cape Comorin. This is mainland. And this is the Andaman and Nicobar. Both will be in the northern hemisphere. Is that clear? Now, if you are reading current affairs, much of the area is having dispute. This region is referred as the Pak-occupied Kashmir. Pak-occupied Kashmir. Now, which is the northernmost undisputed point of India? These all are a dispute. Southernmost is Indira Col and mainland is Cape Comorin. Northernmost undisputed point of India is Indira Col. Indira Col. You should be good enough in knowing these factual. Now UPSC picks questions from these things only. Undisputed point. Now in the same way, when you talk about longitudinal extent, it is 68 degrees 7 minutes and 97 degrees 25 minutes. Now both are in the east of meridian, and hence both should be east side. So it is 68 degrees 7 minutes from this point, and this is 97 degrees 25 minutes. Again, this is in the eastern side. So longitudinal extent of India is 68 degrees to 97 degrees 25 minutes. Both are in the eastern side. You should not mention one as east and one as west. Both are in the eastern side. Is it clear? No. Because if you see the India's location, India is located in this patch. Both are east and both are north. North and east. Is that clear? No. Okay. Now, when you talk about this line, the Tropic of Cancer divides the India into two parts. Tropic of Cancer divides the India into two parts, north and south. Now, if you take this 68 and this is 97, 68 and 97. So, roughly we can say this is 98 and that is also 68. So, what is 68 minus 98? 30. Now, half of 30 is 15. Right. Now, if you add 15 to 68, what is the value? 68. If you add 15, 83. So 82.5 degrees is referred as India's standard time, which is midpoint of this value. So that is India's standard time. Is that clear? So this is called as the India's meridian, which passes from 82.5 degrees, which is mid of these 2 points. Is that clear? Sometimes when they ask, you should remember this. It is in the center of longitudinal extent. Is it clear? So east to west, the distance is 2,933, and north to south, it is 3,214 kilometers. Very basics. Very basics. North south is 3214, east west is 2933 kilometers. Is it clear?
3214
Pardon?
3214 kilometers. That even includes the Pak occupied Kashmir?
No, only mainland. Only mainland. From here it takes. Okay. Now they will not ask about Pak occupied. It is the north to south and east to west. Now factual data, mainland, this is its extension. Now don't make confusion. Both are north and both are east part. Tropic of Cancer divides the country into two equal parts. Now the total area of India is 328 million hectares or 3.28 million square kilometers. If it is hectares, then 328 million hectares. And India is 7th largest country in area. 7th largest in area. And it makes 2.4% area of the world. If you take entire area of the world as 100%, and India's area is 2.4%. And the largest country, Russia, which makes around 17%. The second largest is Canada, third is USA. So in the same way, India is 7th largest in area, and in population, India is first. So India's, when we talk about population, it is first. Now next is India's land frontier is 15,200. Now what do you mean by land frontier? What do you mean by land frontier? This is called as land frontier, which shares international boundary with another country. We refer that as land frontier. This is India's land frontier, right? 15,200 kilometers. Now, which country shares that maximum? Bangladesh. Then China. Smallest one is Afghanistan, which is 106 kilometers. 106 kilometers. Now, when we talk about main coastline of India, main coastline means we are talking only this region. Mainland. So this mainland or total, when we say, this is the main coastline. India's main coastline is 6,100 kilometers. And the total coastline of India is 7,516. Now, the moment when you say 7,516, it includes Andaman Nicobar as well as other islands. So this is mainland. The total coastline of India is 7,516 kilometers. Is that clear now? When you're reading, you should be good enough in these points. Right. Total coastline is 7,516. Mainland is 6,100. Then from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh, there is a lack of 2 hours. It means they are talking about time zones. Time zones in here. Now, when we talk about time zones and time parts, every country adjusts their times with reference to the timings here. So when I take latitudes and longitudes in class 11th geography part, so I'll discuss how the time zone is mentioned. But for India's time zone is 82.5 degrees as per this NCERT part. Is it clear? Now, the location of India is such that it is having accessible to many ports and also many airways are there. And it is the only ocean which is named after a country. So India is dominant in its position. Strategically, it is very important. So hence, US also wants good relation with India. China also maintains good relation. It needs something to counter influences because India's position is as such. When we see important trade routes, they all are linked with India. If you take this, a very significant one, we refer this as Strait of Malacca, which is linked with Indian part. Then we are having the Hormuz Strait and Bab al-Mandab Strait, Somali pirates. So all these are associated with India here. So India's position is very significant in the global part. Strategically, its location. And if you see the India's part also, as it is dominance is seen. So it is the only ocean which is named after country, Indian Ocean. Only ocean which is named after a country because of India's presence. And India has a long coastline as well. So hence India dominates in that areas. So that's why when you talk about Quad and all, you always find that these areas are seen as one of the important concern. Right? Now, India and its neighbors, factual data. Bhutan, Afghanistan and all these. Now, when we talk about these borders, this division between India and Pakistan is referred by Radcliffe Line. India and Pakistan is referred as Radcliffe Line. And the line between India and China is referred as McMahon Line. So here you will find McMahon Line. Now where do you find a Durand Line? Durand Line. You will have some area where this region. So this is called as Durand Line. This is Durand Line. Durand Line was between undivided India and Afghanistan. Now we find the Durand Line is between India and Pakistan, only small area. So this is Durand Line. This is Durand Line. Is that clear now? So countries and their international boundaries. Of course, we are having disputes, but you should remember what is Radcliffe Line, what is McMahon Line, and what is Durand Line. So here you are having the Durand line. This is Pak occupied Kashmir. So Pak occupied Kashmir is a military division, and that line we refer them as LOC, line of control. It is not administrative division, it is military division. Military division. It is not administrative division. So it is Simla agreement which has demarcated them, military division. Now in the same way we have the military division between India and China in the Aksai Chin. We refer that as LAC, line of actual control. So this region is Aksai Chin. This is called as Aksai Chin, and this line is referred as line of actual control. Some phases which are very important. Line of actual control. Aksai Chin. This is that Aksai Chin. This is POK. And this is LAC. And here we find many areas like Galwan. Galwan. So Galwan is in this region. So here we find the Galwan Valley. And here you have Pangangso Lake. Galwan Valley, Pangangso Lake, all are on the LAC. Galwan Valley. Right, so these all places you will come across in your exams point of view. LAC, line of actual control. Right. Now in NCERT they have defined the physical features of India. One is Himalayan mountain, northern plains, peninsular Indian desert, coastal plains and the islands. Now in many books both are combined. Peninsular plateaus, the northern plains are included in this Indian desert. In many books they are combined. So in many books you will have Himalayas, northern plains, peninsular plateau, coastals and the islands. Now how you read it is not important, but what you read is very important. Right. Now here if you take the part, the Himalayan mountains, the northern plains. So these are referred as recent in origin, whereas the peninsular plateau, it is the largest division of India. And it is also the oldest division of India. Now if you take entire geographical part of India, 50% of India is made up of peninsular plateau. 50% is made up of peninsular plateau. And this peninsular plateau is part of Gondwana land. It was part of Gondwana land. It means that geologically India is made into two parts. One is the oldest part and one is the recent part. If you take the age of Himalayas, it is not older than 60 million years. The age of Himalayas, which is not older than 60 million. And if you take the peninsular, it is older than 250 million years. Peninsular is older than 250 million years. Older than 250 million years. So these are logical things you should remember. So India is geologically very complex. One part is very oldest, which is more than 200 million years, and one is recently formed, that is 60 million years old. Himalayas and the northern plains, physiographic perspectives. Very basic things. Right. Now, if we take the Indian part, the Himalayan mountains. So you should remember that Himalayan mountains, they are formed when Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate. This we will read in detail when we take the class 11th geography. Himalayan were formed when it is. Now Himalayas are referred as youngest fold mountains of the earth. So they are youngest fold mountains. Right. So how many ranges are there in Himalayas? Three and plus one, that is Trans-Himalayas. Trans-Himalayas. So generally we say it consists of three ranges, that is Greater Himalaya, Then second one is middle Himalaya. And third one is outer Himalaya. So it is also referred as Shivaliks, Himachal, and this is Himadri. And north of this you are having Trans Himalayas. North of this you are having Trans Himalayas. Trans Himalayas. Right, so Greater Himalayas, Middle Himalayas and Outer Himalayas. All have not formed at the same ages. This is oldest among them and this is recent in the formation. They all are formed at different ages. All have been formed at different ages. Right, so when Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate. Is it clear? So some rough idea about Himalayas. So you have in detail of this in your class 11th. But here he gives some idea that there are 3 longitudinal ranges of Himalayas are there. Now what else you should remember when you are reading this? Here you should understand that they are geologically young, recent in the formation. And then they are fold mountains in the northern parts. And the moment when you talk about Himalayan mountains, how many states and union territories it covers? If they ask question, this is how questions are asked. Himalayas are spread in how many states and how many union territories? This is where you are to be good enough. It is spread in 11 states and 2 union territories. So 2 union territories are Ladakh and Kashmir. Now 11 states means entire northeastern 7 sisters. Then Sikkim. Then there's 2 states there plus West Bengal. 11 states and 2 union territories. That is extension of Himalayas. This should be kept in the mind. 11 states, 2 union territories and its extension. Right, so it is 2,500 kilometers long, width is 400 kilometers and it varies from one. So 400 kilometers in Kashmir and 150 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. It is something like this. So it is maximum here, 400 kilometers in Kashmir and 150 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. So it means that it is narrow towards the east and maximum towards the western side. So in the western side it is maximum and in the eastern side it is narrow. Now why it is like that, you will read that in the class 11th. This is how you have to make your geography reference. Then it is asymmetrical fold. Asymmetrical means there are different types of folds are there. Symmetrical, asymmetrical. Asymmetrical means monocline, isocline, different ways are there. So it is very complex fold mountain of the world. Then the longitudinal valleys lying between lesser Himalayas and Shivaliks are known as dunes. UPSC will ask direct questions from that. Where do you find the dunes? So the longitudinal values between lesser Himalayas and Shivaliks. Lesser Himalayas means the middle Himalayas only. Shivaliks means the last one. So it is something like this. Greater Himalayas, middle Himalayas and Shivaliks. Now where do you find dunes here? Dehradun. So this is where you have to find that. Right. So the longitudinal valleys between Himalayas, lesser Himalayas and Shivaliks are known as dunes. Dehradun. All these. And these dunes are very important for agriculture, flower cultivation, because dunes are fertile areas. And they are known for agriculture, flower cultivation, etc. Right. Longitudinal divisions of Himalayas are demarcated by rivers. Ganga River, Yamuna River. So those rivers which passes from the Himalayas. Right. Then the Brahmaputra marks the easternmost boundary of Himalayas. Now what do you mean by the easternmost boundary of Himalayas? When we make Himalayas, this is called as the Syntaxian bend of Himalayas. This is the easternmost point and this is the westernmost point. And when Indian plate collided, this is how it formed here. When Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate, so this created westernmost bend and easternmost bend. So this is called as easternmost bend, which is called as Namcha Barwa. Namcha Barwa. And here the statement, the Brahmaputra, it reaches here and then it bends and enters into India. It makes U-turn and enters into India. And recently when you are reading current affairs, China is constructing the largest dam in this U-turn area. In this U-turn area. Now, this U-turn is because of the mountain which is being framed here. So here he says that the Brahmaputra marks the easternmost boundary of Himalayas. Easternmost boundaries of Himalayas, which is called as Namcha Barwa, and where it makes U-turn and enters India. And it enters India by the name called as the Brahmaputra. When it enters India, it is called as Siang. Siang. It is not the Brahmaputra. Siang. It is referred as Brahmaputra in the state of Assam. It is referred as Brahmaputra only when it enters into Assam. Is that clear? Entering as Siang. Then beyond the Diong Gorge, the Himalayas sharply make, and then it is known as Purvanchal. Now this region, in a very simple way, this region is referred as Purvanchal, where it has made a bend. After that, these areas are referred as Purvanchal, Eastern Himalayas. After that, syntaxian bend. So when we take 11th class, this becomes more clear. But these words you will find in class 9 textbooks. When they are statement-wise, in the class 9. The Purvanchal comprise of Patkai Hills, Naga Hills. So here we have the hills, Patkai Hills, Naga Hills. So if you see the maps, you will come across that Patkai Hills, Naga Hills, which are there in the Purvanchal region. This is that syntaxian bend. This is the easternmost part, where we find the Brahmaputra reaches here, and then it enters India in the form of Siang. Siang. This is easternmost part, and this is westernmost part. Is that clear? Now, why Brahmaputra enters in India? Because of that syntaxian bend. Syntaxian means hairpin type of bend. UPSC has asked this question, syntaxian bend. Syntaxian bend. So they ask questions which are from class 9th, class 10th, class 11th and class 12th. So don't neglect statements from this. Right. Now these are the mountains which they are talking about. So after this regions, Naga Hills, Patkai Hills, Mijo Hills, so they are referred as Purvanchal. Naga Hills. Right. So these are referred as Purvanchal. Purvanchal. Is it clear now? Now here we find this Garo, Khashi, Jaintia. Have you heard about them? Garo, Khasi, Jaintia. So these Garo, Khashi, Jaintias, they are the part of which plateau? Garo, Khasi, Jaintia. They are the part of Shillong Plateau. Shillong Plateau, Meghalaya Plateau or Shillong Plateau. So Garo, Khasi, Jaintia are the part of the Meghalaya Plateau or Shillong Plateau. Right, now here, see this. This entire portion here, this region here, you are having the plateau called as the Meghalaya Plateau, which is having Garo, Khasi and Jaintia. And this is the main plateau of India, Peninsular Plateau. Peninsular Plateau. Now, in class 10th books, class 11th, he says that Meghalaya Plateau is also a part of Peninsular Plateau, but it is separated. It is separated by a small region. And it is separated by this small region, and we refer this as Malda Gap. In UPSC or in state government, they ask. So this small gap is referred as Malda gap. Malda gap. So Malda gap separates the peninsular plateau from Shillong plateau. Malda gap separates peninsular plateau from Shillong plateau, this region. This is Shillong plateau and this is peninsular plateau, and this gap is referred as Malda gap. Now, above this Malda gap, we are having the largest delta of the world. Which is that delta? Largest delta of the world on this Malda gap, Sundarban delta, or we refer that as Ganga Brahmaputra delta, which is on that Malda gap only. That's how the questions are asked in UPSC. So Malda gap is this region. This region. So here you are having the Garo, Khasi and Jaintia. And this is where we find the delta is formed. Now these all are the statements which UPSC asks questions. They are from 9th book. Class 9th books, and when they ask in the examination, you should get surprised from where the questions have been taken up. If you read them sentence by sentence, it is very easy for you to write any good answer in the context of any state government exam as well as UPSC. See, many points which are there, very, very relevant. They are from this class textbooks only. 9th book only. See this, they are highlighted. What is Purvanchal? So after this Syntaxian bend, after this you are having Purvanchal. So the area after Brahmaputra is Purvanchal. Where do you find Brahmaputra? After Assam. In Assam, the Siang river becomes Brahmaputra. And the area after Brahmaputra is referred as Purvanchal. And which hills you will find them? Patkai Booms, Naga Hills, Mijo Hills. They are the parts of the Purvanchal. This is how the statements UPSC asks in the exams. Is it clear? And here you are having Greater Himalayas, Middle Himalayas and Lower Himalayas. Now, Greater Himalayas, Middle Himalayas and Shivaliks. After that, you are having the Trans-Himalayas. Now, Trans-Himalayas are made up of 4 major mountain ranges. They are referred as this one, Karakoram, then Jhanskar, Ladakh, Jhanskar, and Kailash. Now, when you are making notes, you should remember that Karakoram, Ladakh, Jhanskar, and Kailash, they are not the part of Himalayas. They are the part of Trans-Himalayas. They are the part of Trans-Himalayas. Trans-Himalayas. So this is how you are to make statements. So Trans-Himalayas, then you are having Greater Himalayas, then you are having Outer Himalayas, right? So this is what you have to make your references when you are reading the maps, right? Now, when UPSC asks the questions, we come across many such passes, Baralacha Pass, Zojila Pass. Where do you find them? We find them in the Middle Himalayas. We'll find them, the Baralacha, in the Jhanskar range or in the Shipkila. So if you read the maps of class 9th also, you can answer many map-based questions. Many map-based questions you can easily answer. Zojila Tunnel, Zojila Pass. So you should be good enough in marking them. Now sometimes when you talk about these, Bumla Pass, Bomdila Pass, where do you find? In these regions. Bumla Pass, Bomdila Pass. So when you are reading your class 9th textbooks also, you have to make how to utilize them. You don't have to run behind big books. You will find everything from this books only. See, this is how beautifully they have mentioned all these. If you are reading Satpura range, Vindhyan range, Aravali range, then Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, when they meet, we refer them as Nilgiris. Nilgiris, right? Then you are having these mountains, Purvanchal mountains, Garo, Khasi, Jaintia, and this gap is referred as Malda gap. Malda gap here, right? Then this is Karakoram, Ladakh, Jhanskar, Kailash. So this region is referred as Trans-Himalayas. Trans-Himalayas. Trans-Himalayas and Greater Himalayas are separated by Valley of Kashmir. You will get a statement in NCERT books. UPSC asks the same questions. Trans-Himalayas and the Greater Himalayas are separated by Valley of Kashmir. Now you don't have to run behind many datas. Everything you will find in your NCERT books. Is that clear? Now here you are having Aravalis. Aravalis are there. The Rajasthan desert is in the east of Aravalis or west of Aravalis? This is Aravalis. The Rajasthan desert is in the east of Aravalis or west of Aravalis? West of Aravalis. West of Aravalis. East you are having Peninsular Plateau. Is that clear? Then river systems, the Chambal, then Son, then Ken, Betwa. Everything you will get there. So spend good time in your NCERT books. Every data you will find. Then you should not scratch your head at the last moment. Right. Now passes which are there, like Nathula Pass, Jilipla, very important in the Sikkim, which connects the Sikkim to the China part. And then in Arunachal Pradesh, this is Arunachal Pradesh, this is Assam. So here we find many passes are there. Bomdila, Bumla, etc. So Bomdila Pass is controversial. It is associated with one aspect where we find the Tibetan refugees enter India. Tibetan refugees enter India through this Bomdila Pass. That's how the questions are asked. Bomdila Pass. Right. So passes all are there in your NCERT books. Right. The northern plain, see the descriptions. It is formed by the deposition of three river systems, Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. And it's have an area of 7 lakh square kilometers. This is the length of that. And it is densely population of physiographic. See how beautifully the words have been mentioned here. If you read them sentence by sentence, you don't need something extra to be refined. Then it is vast plain and have diverse relief features also. Relief features are the relief features means some areas where we are having valleys type structures are there. Some areas where we are having upland areas are there. Bluffs are there where the water makes. The river courses split into numerous channels due to deposition of cells, and these are known as distributaries. Where do you find distributaries? At the deltas. Distributaries at the deltas. So rivers combine, and here we find distributaries, deltas. Divided into three main divisions and western divisions known as Punjab plain. So northern plain is very large. It is divided into Ganga plain, Punjab plain, then Arunachal areas, that Assam areas, we refer that as Brahmaputra plain. He has mentioned them very clearly. And in Punjab, we refer them as Doabs. What is Doab? The area between the two rivers. Punjab is a place with 5 river systems. So the area between the two rivers, so this is river 1, this is river 2. So this area between the two rivers, we refer them as Doabs. Doab is a geographical area between the two rivers. And these Doabs are very fertile areas because they are deposition of the rivers. They are deposition by the rivers. So have you heard about the Vijayanagara and Bahmani kings? Vijayanagara and Bahmani kings. Have you heard about them? So they used to fight. What was the reason behind their fight? Doab, Raichur Doab. Raichur Doab. Doab means fertile area between the two river systems. Doab, the moment when you use the term Doab. So Doab is fertile area where the river deposits are there. And these deposits are very important for growing agricultural crops. So hence when we talk about Bahmani and Vijayanagara, so apart from many reasons, the one strong reason is Raichur Doab. So Raichur Doab was bone of contention between two empires, Vijayanagara as well as Bahmanis. This is how you have to read and make the points. Then the things become easy. If you take any exam, you can write very well. Only when you are good enough in the content points. Is it clear? So Punjab, 5 rivers. 5 rivers which are tributaries of the Indus. And these makes doabs. And we see the doabs maybe in the class 11th Indian Physiographic divisions. Right. So here it says that in the east, we are having Brahmaputra plain, and the Ganga plain extends between Ghaggar and Teesta river. When they ask in the statement, Teesta is which originates from Sikkim and enters Bangladesh. Enters Bangladesh. So these statements directly they pick from NCERT. They pick from NCERT and they give in UPSC examination. Right. The northern plains are granaries of country. So which plains are referred as granaries of country? Northern plains, because many crops are grown there. Food grains are grown in that areas. Is it clear? Now, when you talk about northern plains, we always come across these terms: Babbar, Terai, Khadar, Bangar, Kankars. So Khadar and Bangars are alluvial soils. Alluvial soils which are deposited by the rivers. Deposited by rivers. Now, Bangar is old alluvial soil and Khadar is new soil. New alluvial soil here. Now, what happens is, this is Greater Himalaya, Middle Himalaya and Outer Himalayas, Shivaliks. Now, here we find the river enters here. Now, the moment when the river enters here, its velocity decreases when it reaches to the foothills. Its velocity decreases when it reaches to the foothills. Now, the moment when it reaches to the foothills, the stones, the pebbles, what it has brought, it is not easy for it to carry. So it will deposit the stones here. It will deposit the pebbles here. And these stones or small pebbles which it has deposited, we refer that as babbars. We refer that as babbar. And after this babbar, the river keeps on flowing. And here it deposits the soils. And here we find, as it is having some soils, so this area, certain grasses will be there, certain trees will be there, some forest-like areas will be there. And this area, which is south of Babbar, we refer that as Terai. Himalayan Terais. Babbars followed by Terais. Babbar and Terais. After that, this river flows here. This river flows here. And this is the valley where the river is flowing. Now, during the rainy season, floods takes place. Flood takes place. And this floods deposits on both the sides. And these depositions are referred as Khadar and Bangar soils. So hence we say northern plain is formed by the river deposits, Khadar and Bangar. So these old deposits, we refer them as Bangar. Bangar. And the new deposits, which are recent deposits here, the new deposits, we refer them as Khadar. Bangar and Khadar. And these Bangar and Khadar, they are very fertile soils. And hence these soils are used for growing crops like maize, grains, etc. So hence northern plain is referred as granary of India. And people will always stay in the areas where agricultural occupation is more. So hence density will be more. So if you see the density of India, we find the most densely states are Bengal, Bihar, those areas where we find the northern plains which have capacity to provide more amount of food grains there. So remember that Khadar, Bangar. Now what is Kankars? Kankar means if you use the soil for agricultural activities for a longer period of a time without using fertilizer, will it maintain its fertility? Without putting any fertilizer, will it maintain its fertility? No. So such soils which have lost their fertilities, we refer them as kankars. Now where do you find the kankars? In the old alluvial soils. In the old alluvial soil. Which is old alluvial soil? Bangar. So in the Bangars, in the old alluvial bangars, we find certain soils which are infertile. Certain soils which are infertile. They are calcareous one. And we refer them as kankars. We refer them as kankars. Kankars means often and often they are used for agricultural activity. So hence they have lost their fertilities. So they pick up the statements kankars, bangars, khadars from the textbooks directly from this point. Is it clear? So hence we find they are very fertile and they are used for different types of activities. Clear? Babar, Bangar, Khadar. Khadar is more fertile compared to that of Babar. So this is how your NCERT books will help you to mark the statements exactly in your exams. So you read magazines. In the magazines you don't find. In magazines one point you will find which is more interesting, you keep on rubbing that. But in NCERT every statement is important. This is the difference when you talk about NCERT books. They play a very important role in your journey. Don't neglect NCERT books. Right. Then the Peninsular Plateau. Peninsular Plateau is the largest physiographic division. Right. Now here it is a table land. Table land means flat area. Flat area. Old flat area. Now sometimes when they ask, it is made up of which type of rocks? Igneous and metamorphic rocks. Class 9th textbooks. Then it is consisting of two broad divisions, the Central Highland and the Deccan Plateau, as it is largest one. So it consists of these two, Central Highland and the Deccan Plateau. This is Central Highland and this is Deccan Plateau. Now Peninsular Plateau is in the east of Aravalis or west of Aravalis? East of Aravalis, and west of Aravalis is desert. This is how you have to remember. Is it clear? So here you are having Aravalis. This is Aravalis. So here you are having desert and this is Peninsular Plateau. And here you are having northern plain. Northern plain. So this is how you have to make your mind map. Peninsular Plateau, desert, northern plain, then Central Highland and the Deccan part. Is that clear? And Peninsular Plateau also consists of the two regions which we refer them as Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Now this, if you draw in your reading book, then it becomes easy for you to understand. Right. Now this Peninsular Plateau, here it is there. So this portion of Peninsular Plateau, is referred as Shillong Plateau or Meghalaya Plateau. Now remember, Meghalaya Plateau is part of Peninsular Plateau, but it is separated by which gap? Malda Gap, which is separated by Malda Gap. Now UPSC, when they ask the question, Shillong Plateau is separate from Peninsular Plateau. It is the part of Peninsular Plateau but separated by the Malda Gap. And Shillong Plateau consists of three important peaks which are referred as Garo, Khasi and Jaintia. Garo, Khasi, Jaintia. And hence they all are part of Peninsular Plateau. So Peninsular Plateau is something like this. So here you have the Peninsular Plateau up to this Garo, Khasi, Jaintia. Is that clear now? This is how we are to make references. Then only your technical statements becomes clear in UPSC. Right. Now next it says that the Vindhyan range is bounded by Satpura on the south and Aravalis on the northwest. See this. So here you are having the mountains. Right. Vindhyan range, Satpura range, Aravalis. This is Vindhyan range. This is Satpura range. Mahadev Hills. So when they ask the statements it will be reflected from your normal textbooks only. Don't confuse with the statements. Keep them as simple. So when we talk about that mountain part, it says that the Vindhyan range is bounded by Satpuras in the south. Araval is in the northwest. Araval is in the northwest. Right. Further westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky deserts of Rajasthan. Desert, northwest part. The flow of rivers draining in these regions, namely Chambal, Sindh and Betwa, they form the southwest and northeast, thus indicating the slope. It means it is sloped towards the northern side. This is how the statements are there in NCERT. It's not that I have created, they are NCERT statements. Right. The plateau is a storehouse of minerals which has played a crucial role in industrialization. 10 marks question was asked on this. Why you find more? Explanation for this is given in class 11th. But you should understand plateaus are referred as storehouse of minerals. Chhattisgarh Plateau, Chota Nagpur Plateau. All these are very rich with mineral deposits. Iron deposits, coal deposits, gold deposits, diamond deposits you will find in this particular stretch. Right. The Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by Damodar River. So Chota Nagpur Plateau means this area. So here you are having the plateaus. This is Malwa Plateau. This is Bundelkhand Plateau. This is Bhagelkhand Plateau. And here you are having Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau further eastward extension drained by Damodar River. So which river here you find? Damodar River. Damodar. And these are referred as the Garo Khasi Jaintia. Garo Khasi Jaintia. And this is the plateaus here. And when you talk about other plateaus, you will have Maharashtra Plateau. Then you are having Karnataka Plateau, and this is called as Andhra and Telangana Plateau. Telangana Plateau. So in between that you are having a plateau which is called as Dandakaranya. Dandakaranya Plateau. Now once you make the datas, then you can answer any questions which are asked in UPSC. It is not rocket science. It is very simple. Malwa Plateau, Bundelkhand Plateau, Bhagelkhand Plateau, Chota Nagpur Plateau, and then you are having Garo Khasi JNCS. And this gap is referred as Malda Gap. Is it difficult to remember? You find them from your NCERT books, and then you have to make separate. You spend time, quality of time, then it becomes easy for you to mark. Is it clear? Now Bundelkhand is in the news because of which river linkage? Bundelkhand, Ken-Betwa linkage. So this is how you have to make your notes, Ken-Betwa linkage. You put them everything in geography, then current affairs also becomes easy for you. Right. The Deccan Plateau is triangular landmass. Triangular landmass lies to the south of river Narmada. South of Narmada. Right. Satpura flank is broad based in the north, while Mahadev Kaimur Hills and Maikal Range form its eastern extension. The same. This is how the statements are. Kaimur Range, Mahadev Hills, Maikal Range. Then the Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes towards the eastwards. Eastwards. If you see Kaveri, it flows downward. Then the extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeastern, locally known as Meghalaya, Karbi Anglong Plateau and North Kachar Hills. Now, this is the main plateau. This is referred as the Garo Khasi Jaintia or Meghalaya Plateau. And east of Meghalaya Plateau, you are having one more plateau, which is referred as the Karbi Anglong Plateau. Karbi Anglong Plateau. This is how you have to put the data. Garo Khasi Jaintia, Karbi Anglong Plateau. Right. And then it is having North Kachar Hills. So here you are having the Kachar Hills. And it is separated by a fault from Chota Nagpur Plateau. Which is that fault? Malda Fault or Malda Gap. It is separated from this fault called as Malda Fault or Malda Gap. Now here you are having Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau. And Chota Nagpur Plateau, and these are separated by this gap. This is what the statement talks about. That's how you have to interpret your textbook. Then you don't need anything extra for your studies. Is that clear now? So this is what you are finding. And no magazines explains this better than NCERT parts. Is it clear now? Then the Western Ghats higher than the Eastern Ghats. Which among them are higher? Then their average elevation is given. Then Eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to Nilgiri Hills in the south. Eastern Ghats. Now Eastern Ghats are spread in how many states? 5 states. See, you should be good enough in that. Western Ghats are spread in how many states? 6 states. Western Ghats are spread in 6 states. Very basics. Very basics. 5 states, 6 states. Eastern Ghats are discontinuous. Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats are continuous, Eastern Ghats are discontinuous because the rivers have cut them and created deltas. If you see this, it is something like this. In the eastern side, they are having discontinuous because here the rivers have reached and created deltas. Krishna Delta, Godavari Delta, Kaveri Delta. But in the Western Ghats, they all are continuous one. They all are continuous one. So hence, to move from east to west, we make passes. Here we are having passes. Borgat Pass, which connects them. Is it clear? The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular, desiccated by rivers. Mahendragiri is the highest peak in Eastern Ghats. No, you don't have to break your head when they ask in UPSC because it is in the NCERT books. You can go with this. Right. Then the Western Ghats provide orographic rainfall. Southwest monsoon. Orographic means type of rainfall. Moisture-laden winds when they collide with the mountains. So then they form the rainfall. We refer that as orographic rainfall. This is about southwest monsoon. The Western Ghats, the height of Western Ghats progressively increases from north to south. So it means that the Western Ghats, see the statement, increases from north, so very important statement. The height of Western Ghats increases from north to south. It is something like this. So where do you find the highest peaks now? In the north or in the south? Which is the highest peak of Western Ghats? Which is the highest peak? You find Anaimudi in Kerala. Then Misapulima again in Kerala. Then Doddabetta in Karnataka. Kalsubai in Maharashtra. See, this is how you have to make your common sense. Western Ghats, when we say, see the statements. Is that clear? So just not reading them, read them carefully and put them in 2 pages. So this is vital statistics. This is how the Western Ghats looks like. The moment when it reaches to Mumbai and all, it decreases in the height. Kerala, Karnataka, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Kerala is in the south, then Karnataka, then Maharashtra. See the highest peaks, how it decreases. This is called as basics from your NCERT. You should decode them, then you can mention. One of the distinct peninsular plateau is the black soil area known as Deccan Plateau. In NCERT, UPSC, when they ask the question, the same thing. This is called as volcanic in origin. So they are talking about this region, Deccan Plateau, which is formed by the eruption of the hotspot, fishery rock, black soil. He has mentioned them: igneous rocks, Deccan Plateau. Then the Aravalli Hills lies in the western and northernmost margins of peninsular plateau. He has given the boundaries also. So read them carefully. Many of your questions you will find from these textbooks only. So this is about the northern plains. Then Indian desert. So where do you find the deserts? West of Aravallis. West of Aravallis. It lies towards the western margins of Aravallis. It is sandy plains with sand dunes. Sand dunes means mountains of sands. Thar desert. Thar desert. Streams appear during the rainy season. Soon after they disappear, the sandy, and do not have enough water to reach there. So such streams we refer them as Rohi. Such streams we refer them as Rohi. So what are Rohis of Rajasthan? Rohis are the streams which appear only during the rainy season, and after that they do not form. Then it has the Luni, which is the largest river in the region, and this is also referred as ephemeral river, short river, ephemeral river. And in the Rajasthan regions, we always find the lakes which are saline lakes. Saline lakes. Like Sambar Lake, Didwana Lake. Right. Now these Sambar lakes or Didwana lakes, which are saline lakes, we refer them as playa lakes. So they ask, playa lakes are formed in desert, arid areas. So we refer them as playa lakes. Playa lakes of Rajasthan. Right. Now the same way, coastal plains. Now when you talk about India's coastal plains, so here he says that India's coastal plains, they consist of the two regions, east coast and west coast. Now he says that east coast is formed by deposition, and hence it is having more width, and it has deltas. Ganga Delta, Godavari Delta, Krishna Delta, etc. East coast. And if you take the west coast is referred as erosional coast. And here river don't form any deltas. Instead they are having estuaries. Like Narmada, Tapi river, which create estuaries. They don't form the deltas. And here the water is deep because it is not a depositional coast, it is an erosional coast. And here it is a depositional coast. So as it is deep water, so they are suitable for natural harbors or natural ports. Natural ports. Right. So once you read your class 9th book, you will have certain ideas. And they name this portion as Konkan coast, and this portion as Malabar coast, and this portion is called as Coromandel coast. And what is another name for Andhra coast? Northern Sirkar coast, and then this is called as Utkal coast, Odisha coast or Utkal coast. So you should be good enough in knowing that. Now sometimes when they ask, maximum number of cyclones will make landfall, maximum number of cyclones will fall in which coast? That is Northern Sirkar. Now which is Northern Sirkar? Andhra coast. Highest number of cyclones, tropical cyclones, will hit the Northern Sirkar, which is Andhra coast. Right. So you will find all in these areas. And improved version of this you will find in the 11th textbook. Right. Then islands. Islands. So in India, we are having islands which are spread in all that. Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep Islands, then Pamban Island, certain islands in the Gujarat regions, right? So Lakshadweep and these are referred as continental islands. And here we find two volcanic islands. We refer them as Norkandam and Barren Island. Barren Island. And this islands in the Lakshadweep, we refer them as Coral Islands. Coral Island. And this is Pamban Island. Pamban Island. So these all are referred as islands in the context of India. So we have Coral Island, we have Continental Island, we have volcanic islands also. All the three types of islands are there in India. Volcanic islands like Norkandam and Barren, Continental Island, Andaman part, Coral Islands, Lakshadweeps. All the three types of islands are there. In 1973, Lakshadweep, Minicoy and Amendiu were named as Lakshadweep. Named as Lakshadweep. It covers a small area of 32 square kilometers. Kavaratti Island is administrative capital of the Lakshadweep. The Pitta Island, which is uninhabited, has a bird sanctuary, Pitti bird sanctuary or Pakshi Pitti. This is how UPSC asks a question. Where do you find the Pitti Island? In the Lakshadweep. Right. Recently, they have changed the capital of Andaman and Nicobar. What was the capital of Andaman and Nicobar? Port Blair. Now it is referred as Sri Vijayapuram. Sri Vijayapuram. Sri Vijayapuram. Right. So when you are reading the NCERT, I'm telling you, when you're reading your NCERT, take some time. Don't finish them fast. Spend some time. Take one white sheet. Try to put them into your datas. So once you make the datas, then I don't think you will have anything to be known there. See here, you have, I think you have read NCERT books, but what you have found here, don't you think that it is very interesting? Exam point of view. This is how we are to make the use of NCERT books. Everybody has purchased that, but they are kept aside. Only thing is you have to use them carefully. This somebody else, when they say without referring NCERT, then you will feel that yes, he is a very resource person, he is giving you all the data. But it is there in NCERT. Only thing is you have to decode. Now classes are important because decoding is done in the classrooms. Once you are reading NCERT, you may not get the flavor, but when you are attending the classes, you will get a complete holistic approach like this. So that is an advantage of classroom. But along with the classroom, if you read your NCERT, then do you think that there is any problem? No. Is it clear? No. So this is where, when you read them, when you utilize, it's how you utilize them. See, reading NCERT books and then it may take 2 years for you to crack UPSC. But sometimes when you're attending the classrooms, then that classroom plus NCERT will make you to crack in the first attempt itself. So it is not that those who are not attending the classrooms, they will not pass. They will pass, but it will take some time. It will take some time for them to make their part. Is it clear now? Okay. Now, diverse physical features of the land have immense future possibilities of development. Explain the statements. So this is how the questions are asked from class 9th textbook. Explain the physical features of land which have immense future possibilities of development. So here he is talking about all the physiographic divisions of India and how they can be used for making a good country perspectives. So once you know the physiographic divisions, maybe the deltas are suitable for agriculture. The waterfalls in the north, they are used for hydroelectricity generation. Then the plateaus are mineral sources. Industries you can set up there. So all these are important to make a country to stand here. So physiographic divisions, when you talk, the water from the rivers can be used for drinking, irrigation, agriculture crops, minerals. All those are referred as the future possibilities of development. Minerals, industrialization. Deltas for agriculture crops. Waters for hydroelectricity. Is that clear? That's what the questions are, physiographic divisions and their parts. If you know the physiographic division, you can write answers based on such questions. Now, drainage system, he says. A river along with its tributary is referred as a river system. Now, the river from where it originates, we refer this as a source of a river. Now, the rivers which joins them, we refer them as tributary. Tributary. Now, the river when it reaches to the ocean, then it forms distributaries. And where it meets to the ocean, we refer that as mouth of a ocean, mouth of a river. So you should be very careful. Source means the river where it originates. Mouth means where the river ends. Tributaries add water and distributaries take the waters. Tributaries add water. Tributaries add water. And distributaries take the water away. Take the water away. Now, in these distributaries, you find certain lakes are formed, like Chilka Lake. Distributaries, Odisha, Chilka Lake, you will find here. Right. So, you should be knowing that. They should be knowing that. Now, any river with its tributaries is referred as river system. Ganga and its tributaries. Brahmaputra and its tributaries. Is that clear? Now here we come across two terms, water divide, water divide. Now what is water divide? Any elevated area which separates the two river basins on two different sides, we refer that as water divide. So Western Ghat is a water divide for east flowing rivers and west flowing rivers. If you see Western Ghats, so here you are having Western Ghats, right? So the Western Ghats act as a water divide for east flowing rivers and west flowing rivers. So the moment when we use the term water divide, any elevated area which separates the two river basins or river systems are separated. So Western Ghat is a water divide. Now Himalayas, are they water divide for India? If you see Himalayas here, we have Brahmaputra river, we have the Ganga river, Yamuna river, which are flowing in this. Himalayas, can we call them as water divide of India? We find Ganga river, Yamuna river, they are flowing in the same direction. So hence Himalayas are not the water divide for India. The river should flow on one side and on other side. We refer that as water divide. If we take Western Ghats, east flowing and west flowing. In Himalayas, all the rivers are south flowing towards India. So Himalaya is not a water divide for India. This is what you have to keep in the mind. Western Ghat is a water divide. Satpura is a water divide. If you take Satpura, if you take them, east flowing and west flowing, but not the Himalayas. Is it clear now? So water divides any elevated area which separates the two river basins on two different sides. Now when the river flows, it has upper course, middle course and the lower course. Three stages of the rivers. Upper course, middle course and the lower course. Upper course, middle course and the lower course. Lower course. And here they form different landforms, oxbow lakes, deltas, etc. Right, so here we find them. See this. This is a delta. This is oxbow lake. Right, so they form them in the lower courses. Meandering. See, meandering is bend of a river. It is not a landform. Meandering will create oxbow lake. Meandering will create oxbow lake. So read them carefully, then you will find good answers to be written. Is it clear? Now this is called as water divide of India. Now when we talk about water divide, so here we are having Western Ghats. Then here we find the rivers like Narmada and Tapi are flowing in this direction. Then you are having Chambal, Betwa and Son in other directions. And then you link here these rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, then these 5 rivers. So this is called as the main water divide of India or major water divide of India. Major water divide of India, that is the Western Ghats, then Aravalis and Satpura. This is Aravali mountain. This is Satpura mountain. And then here you are having one mountain. Which is this mountain? Which mountain you find here? Sorry, it is Vindhyas. Vindhyas and Satpuras. Which is this mountain? Aravalis. Aravalis, Vindhyas, Satpuras and Western Ghats. Is it clear now? So here we find some rivers flowing in this direction, some river flowing in this direction. So Western Ghats, Satpuras, Vindhyas, Aravalis. Himalayas are not water divides. Himalayas are not water divides. They are source of rivers, but they are not the water divides. Is that clear now? Now when you take the drainage system of India, they are mainly controlled by many features of the subcontinents. Features means the geology of that area. Then second one is the slopes of that region. Third one is rocks of that area. Then we are having the climate of that area. So all these are responsible for creating the river systems. And this explanation you will find in the class 11th textbook. So here he has given a hint. Here he has given a hint that the drainage system of India are mainly controlled by broad relief features of subcontinent. And this he has explained in class 11th textbook. Now these are the river systems, Narmada, statements when they ask in the exam. The marble rocks near Jabalpur. So originate here. It flows through the gorges and there it creates Dhuandhar Falls. Now sometimes when they ask, Dhuandhar Fall is associated with which river? Narmada River. Narmada River. Right. Then tributaries of Narmada are very short and most of these joins the main stream at right angles. So a tributary joining the main river at right angle, we refer them as which type of drainage system? Drainage pattern. Trellis drainage pattern. Trellis drainage pattern. The Narmada basin covers parts of which 2 states? Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. Tapi rises in the Satpura ranges in Betul district of Madhya Pradesh. It covers Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Maharashtra. Then the main west flowing rivers are Sabarmati, Mahi, Bharatpuzha and Periyar. Bharatpuzha and Periyar. These 2 are from Kerala. Godavari. It is joined by many tributaries such as Purna, Vardha, Pranahita, Vainganga and Penganga. Directly they will ask, Vainganga, Penganga and they all are tributaries of which river? Godavari. And Godavari is called as Dakshin Ganga. This is your class 9th textbook. Krishna. The Tungabhadra, Koyna, Ghataprabha, the Musi and Bhima are its tributaries. The states. Kaveri. Its main tributaries are Amravati, Bhavani, Hemavati, Kabini. So this is how they give the statements also. Is that clear? Now, when you draw them in the maps, then they become the map or questions for your UPSC. Simple, right? Now, climate. Now, the climate of India is defined as monsoon type. Monsoon types. So there are 6 major factors which confine which are associated with the climate. One is latitude. Latitude means if you are talking about latitude, this is 0 degree, this is 90 degrees. So where do you find the temperature is maximum, at 0 or at 90 degrees? The temperature is maximum at 0, equator. Right, so when you move on from equator to the poles, the temperature also decreases. Right, so latitude wise. Then altitude with the height. With the height, the temperature decrease or increase? We refer that as normal lapse rate. Then pressure and wind systems, they are responsible for the movement of the air. Then distance from the sea. Distance from the sea. So if you are very close to the sea, then we find that the difference between the days and nights will not be more. But if it is continental like Delhi, the summer will be very harsh and the winter will also be very harsh. We have never experienced harsh summer in coastal areas. We have never experienced harsh winter in the coastal areas. But Delhi will be having extreme cold and extreme because of its continental position. So which areas are ideally located for settlements? This continental or the coastal areas? So hence we find maximum settlements are in the coastal areas. Maximum in the coastal areas. Ocean currents are also very responsible. If the area is having cold ocean currents, then they can create the deserts like the Atacama Desert created by Peru current. This you will see in the class 11th textbook. Class 11th textbook. All these, whatever I am telling, they all are from your NCERT books only. Only thing is I am explaining them with demarcation. Right. Now based on that, when you are reading your part, the climate associated with the weather conditions in India are governed by the pressure and wind systems, upper air circulation, and this is nothing but monsoon. And this has been completely explained in the class 11th textbook. So when I take that 11th textbook, maybe after 3 days, I'll explain that in detail. But see, the seeds are given in the class 9th only. In the class 9th only, they have mentioned that, yes, there is an upper air circulation. There is western cyclonic disturbances. There is some tropical cyclones. Now, the seasons of India. Indian Meteorological Department has classified the seasons in India into southwest monsoon, second, northeast monsoon, and third one is the monsoon associated with cold season, and fourth one is warm season. Warm season. So these are the seasons. Maximum rainfall you will get in the southwest monsoon. Then the rainfall which you get in the warm season is referred as pre-monsoon showers. We refer them as pre-monsoon showers. And the rainfall what you get during the cold season, we refer them as western disturbances. Western disturbances. Right. So this is how India's seasons are classified. He has given some hint here and he has explained them in detail in the class 11 textbook. Right. Maximum rainfall, annual rainfall in India. Now, which areas you will find heavy rainfalls? This region, Western Ghats, western side, northeastern side, Garo Khasi Jaintia, Meghalaya, Mawsynram, Chirapunji, Mawsynram. So here you have that Mawsynram. Initially it was Chirapunji. Now it is Mawsynram. Heavy rainfalls there. Right. Then we also find good amount of rainfall in this region because of northeast monsoon. Northeast monsoon. Now, this is based on the annual rainfall pattern of India. And this is from your NCERT books. Clearly, he has taken it and reflected which areas are having more rainfall and which are dry areas. Dry areas. Desert areas. Is that clear now? Now, natural vegetation. Now, when you are writing in your mains, We should not get technical terms. Natural vegetation refers to the plant community which has grown naturally without the human aid and has been left undisturbed by human for a long time. So many students make a confusion. What is natural vegetation? What is flora? What is fauna? This is natural vegetation. Plant community which has grown undisturbed, we refer that as natural vegetation. Cultivated crops, fruits, orchard, parts of vegetation are not natural vegetation. See, they have given in a systematic statements. The term flora is used to denote the plants of a particular region. See, when you read flora and fauna, understand the difference. Understand the difference. Vegetation means entire part. Flora means of a region. Flora means of a region. The species of animals are referred as fauna. Flora and fauna. Animal species, we refer them as fauna, and the plants, we refer them as flora. Now, which one is bigger? Vegetation is bigger or flora is bigger? Vegetation is bigger. Part of that is called as flora. See the difference. Is it clear now? So, hence, remember that. The following vegetations in India are tropical evergreen, tropical deciduous, tropical thorn, and montane. So, in India, the tropical deciduous forests are also called as monsoon forests. Monsoon forest. And they make around 69% of the total forests in India. 69% of the total forest. Now, UPSC and state governments, when they ask questions, they will ask the statements like this. So, this is the area. Tropical evergreen, deciduous, montane. See, this is maximum. %69%. And then we are having mangrove forest and these portions. Very simplified data are given. Now, when they ask the questions here, like tropical evergreen forest, rainforest, more than 200, where do you find? Characteristics, vegetations, plants and animals. Straightway questions will be asked from that. Evergreen forest, where do you find them in India? The locations. Is it clear now? So they have explained them carefully. So you find 3 layers are there. That is the canopy layer, emergent layer, and then you are having shrub layers. 3 layers. 1 layer, 2nd layer, 3 layers. Shrub layers, canopy layer, emergent layers. In the rainforests, tropical evergreen. Then when you move on to tropical deciduous, monsoon forest, largest forest in India. Rainfall 70 to 200%. So this tropical deciduous is classified into dry deciduous and wet deciduous or moist deciduous. Moist deciduous exists in the eastern part of the country, northeastern part, Himalayas, Jharkhand. Very clearly he has mentioned. Dry deciduous in the peninsular regions where the rainfall is 70 to 100. Now what else is required in the exams? Is that clear now? This is how he has given the breakup of all that deciduous. So don't skip and jump from this. Then thorn and scrub forest, less than 70 rainfall. Where do you find? Which plants are there? What type of vegetations you will find them? Now thorn and scrub means rainfall is less. So hence they will be having the adaptation. Small leaves to minimize evaporation. So rather than evaporation, it has to be transpiration. Transpiration. So this is how the questions are there. So we'll have xerophytes, small pores so that they should not make more transpiration. Is that clear now? Then if we take montane forest, Himalayas. So we find a montane forest, one in Himalayas and second one is in the Western Ghats. And in the Western Ghats, we refer them as Shola forest, Nilgiris and all. So we are having Shola forest and then we are having the Himalayan forest. Shola forest, Tamil Nadu and Kerala and part of Karnataka. Shola forests are there, right? So here we know that the temperature decreases with the height. Decrease in the temperature with the increasing altitude has corresponding natural vegetation. The wet temperate types of forests are found between this height. Between 1500 and 300 meters, 3000 meters, it consists of coniferous trees. At higher elevation, the temperate grasslands are common. See, they will ask statements from directly this portion. At higher altitude, more than 3600 above sea level, temperate forests, they give rise to alpine vegetation. At higher altitudes, mosses and lichens form the part of tundra vegetation at higher altitudes. Higher altitudes. So you should make a pictographic part of that. Then it becomes easy for you to read them. This is how the vegetation seems to be. And these are the grasses. These are the grasses. And this is how the vegetation is seen. Alpine, mosses, etc. Right. So when you are reading them, mark them carefully. Mangroves. Simple. Mangroves, you can find them in the coastal areas. Tidal forest. They will be having stilt roots. And they will have fleshy leaves. We refer them as succulent leaves. Right, and seed starts growing from the plants itself. We refer them as ovipary, vivipary. Right, Sundarban deltas, mangroves. Mangroves in the Sundarban deltas, and they are having the roots which grows upward for air. And remember, mangroves are salt tolerant plants. Salt tolerant plants, and we refer them as halophytes. We refer them as halophytes. Right, and this is how the mangroves are seen. Red mangroves, black mangroves, white mangroves. When you move on from the ocean towards the coastal, at the near we are having red mangroves. Near the part, we are having white mangroves. This is how they are arranged. You ask questions on that ways. Near the oceans, we are having red mangroves. Away from there, you are having the white mangroves. Right. Then, in the context of India, biosphere reserves. How many biosphere reserves are there? 18 biosphere reserves. In NCERT, as it is old, some small are there, but here you should remember 18 biosphere reserves. So these biosphere reserves are protected areas. Protected areas, right? Now, in Andhra Pradesh, there was Seshachalam. In Telangana, you don't have any biosphere reserve. Seshachalam is part of Andhra Pradesh now. Then we are having Agastyamalai Biosphere Reserve, Gulf of Mannar, Nilgiris. So these all are the 18 biosphere reserves of India. Map work. Dihang Dibang, Dibru Saikova, Manas, Nokrek, Sikkim, Sundarban. Right. So these all are 18 biosphere reserves of India. Now if they ask questions also, you should read the map and mark them correctly. Is it clear now? Then population. In the context of population, the study of population is referred as demography. Right, demography. So in demography, what we read? Birth rates, death rates, sex ratios, literacy, their growth rates, etc. And when we read them, we refer them as attributes of demography. Attributes of demography. Attributes means birth rates, death rates, literacy, etc. characteristics. So demography means it talks about the population structure, whether it is young population, old age population, female is dominant, male is dominant, literate population. So all these we refer them as attributes of demography, right? And here when you talk, every 10 years the census is done. The first census was in the year 1872 and the recent census is being missing. So maybe in another few months they will give. Almost half of India's population is there in these big 5 states. The population density in the 2011 was 382. Now we have to wait for 2021 census. 2021 census, right? The number distribution composition of the population constantly changes. This is the influence of interaction of the 3 major processes: birth, deaths and migration. Births, if births are more, the population will increase. If the births are less and if the deaths are more, the population will shrink. Migration, moving from one area to another areas. See the statements what they are given, they are very beneficial for your examination. This is the India's position as per 2011 census. So as per 2011 census, India has 17.5% of the population. Area wise, India has 2.4%. Now, if you take the state wise population, the dominant states are Uttar Pradesh, followed by Maharashtra, followed by Bihar, followed by West Bengal, population wise. Right, so hence the maximum share goes to UP in the taxation because of population and because of area. And maximum seats will be from UP only. Population is more. Is it clear? And this is how the 2011 census population is. The density wise. So we find the density number of persons. The density is maximum here, 1000 and above, which is in West Bengal and Bihar. This is Jharkhand. West Bengal, Bihar, more densities. Where do you find the density which is very less? Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, which is 250 and below. And what is the national density? 381. This one. India's population density 382. Is that clear? So some rough idea you will get directly from your NCERT books. 2011 census. Right. This shows the percentage growth rate. So if you take 1951 to 1961, 1961 to 1971, 1981. So this phase, the population growth was very, very high. And that created something called as population explosion. In India, we refer this as population explosion. And after that, we find the population is shrinking. So when you're writing your mains, you should remember this. Now, if you see the population of India, 1901, 19, and here you will find the datas. 1921 is referred as the Great Divide in India or population divide in India. 1921 is referred as population divide of India or demographic divide of India. Because after 21, continuously the population is increasing. Only in 1921, the population rate was 0. Only in 1921, the population increase rate was 0. It was in minus. See, 25,2092 to 25,132 minus. If you take here, it is increasing. Only in this phase, you find the population has decreased. Only this, the population was decreased because of First World War and the the plague disease. And after that, continuously the population is increasing. So hence 1921 is referred as the demographic divide in India. Death rate is number of the deaths per 1,000 in a year. Birth rate is number of live births per 1,000. Right. Adolescents are the general population which are 10 to 19. So many students make a confusion who are adolescents. 10 to 19 years. National Population Policy initiated in the year 1952. You will find every data, every factual from your NCERT part. Is that clear now? Right. So when you are reading your data, you should make sure that you are making the proper reflections of that. I think now you know that certain points which you have to take it from NCERT and you have to fix them in your textbooks. So tomorrow we'll try to understand something about the class 10th textbook, and 11th and 12th you will be having more detailed discussions on that. But here also you find many content which are important for your exam point of view. So don't neglect your NCERT books, maybe for your state government as well as UPSC part. Meandering course. Okay. Now this is a river which is flowing in this direction. Now rest of them, if you are having any doubt, you can sit, or else you can leave, not a problem. Now this river is flowing here, right? Now the water which is flowing in the river is having certain amount of strength which can cut the river and make its direction. Now the surface is not a static one. It is always being continuously changed. We always find upliftments are there from the earth's interior. Upliftments are there from the earth's interior. It is something like this. The river is flowing in this direction. So there may be possibility that upliftment may be there from the interior of the earth. Right now, if the river is strong, then it can cut the upliftment and it can maintain its original direction. Do you agree with this? If the river is strong, then the strong river, it can cut and it can erode the upliftment and it can maintain its direction. Right, like the rivers which are having strength. But there is possibility that this river may not be having sufficient strength and the upliftment may be strong. Now what happens is upliftment may be strong here, and this river which is flowing here, it is unable to cut that upliftment. So then what it will do? It will deviate. Now the moment when it deviates, we refer that as a loop or meander. So it will deviate, or we refer them as the loop. Up to this, is it clear? Right. Now this river has developed a loop now. We refer that as meandering part. Now, when the water is flowing in this area, we find because of its velocity, and all, this region, this area, here it will make its journey. In this side it will have deposition, this side it will have erosion. Now what it will do is, it will push the river something like this. Now here you are having erosion, here you are having deposition. Class movie there. Here you are having erosion and here you are having deposition. I'm just clearing the doubts, Kiran. Okay. Erosion and deposition. Now, at one stage, this erosion will exceed and this river will have something like this. Erosion is maximum here, deposition is maximum here. Now, at one stage, both will join and the river will maintain its original flow and this will get cut off. Right, this is Oxbow Lake and this is the main river, and the process is called as meandering. Is meandering a landform? Meandering is a process, and meandering creates which landform? Oxbow Lake. Clear? Okay. Any other doubts? Done.